Gonna start talking about stuff. Maybe come up with a topic. Gonna drive in a lot of different directions. Hopefully we can kill a few people. It'd be really great. Alright, we're not gonna actually kill people because it's a video game. You have to take yourself out of this, you know? Just like realize. Just realize it. It's just gonna keep on going, you know? Just trying to console Trevor, given that he doesn't exist, and nor will he ever. Alright. We're gonna go online and shit. There we go. Alright. So we're here. I'm near. And hopefully I start hearing some explosions soon. It's going to be a lot harder to find people sometimes because if they're either hacking or doing something, they're messing with servers. We're going to check it out because it's something funny to just thwart them a little bit, even though they're technically not hacking. They're just using different servers to make the entire map, and then they're trying to find different people and find out where they are on the map so they can see them whenever the map's not showing, because they're looking at their phones and stuff like that. So, alright, that's what we're gonna do. It's pro bono work, guys. Pro bono work. It's not work at all. Understandably so. We're still gonna come up with a topic because I'm gonna do something about it, you know? Gotta stop those kids from getting bullied into making tons and tons of money, you know? Here we go. It's raining today. Not raining. It's raining on GTA. And it's getting really dark, guys. Really stormy. Really cloudy. Alright. Someone's trying to repeat the words that I'm saying instead of realizing that, alright, that dude's repeating the words I'm saying. We're gonna go and see if he's gonna be on this session. Alright. Alright, I can tell it's not an echo because it's happening too. This is the reason why some people think that their headphones are done. Alright, the guy that tried to... There we go. They all left. We're gonna have to find them again. It's gonna be great. Guys, gotta get out of here. Gotta get this out of here because I gotta follow these guys. It's gonna be fun. Sometimes people like to use bots, sometimes. That's the reason why sometimes those echoes actually happen. Usually it doesn't happen because of anything that's wrong with the speaker. It has anything to do with people who try to mimic other people's voices. So I'm gonna see if they move to another server, and we're gonna come up with a topic because I'm gonna start talking about stuff, and then I'll remember things from my childhood that I looked at and tried to study later. All right. Oh, there's someone right there by their house. Let's see if we can wait for them. Go up to this we're gonna go up to this this thing right here, knock on his door, and see what he's doing. Hanging out in his house, being in passive mode and stuff. I'm gonna probably try and see if I can get a new beard because alright, do you want to build some code, man? Alright, we're gonna take that as he doesn't want to play, and alright. See if we can let's talk about something. Alright, while I'm looking for people that are trying to hide on servers. It's really fun to do, and you can actually find out who people are milking profiles. I'm sure developers do this stuff all the time. And we're gonna go to the gang fight because we're just gonna park right here. Try to see if we can get in there. And all right. Really wish those bushes were a lot more stable. We're gonna run out of here. We're gonna take out the shotgun. See how long we last. Alright. Open them up. Alright. Gonna get right here. See if this dude runs around. He does. Stay on cover. See if we can get back in there. Alright, he's dead.
Take cover!
Cover fire. Take this.
They hit him! Ball back!
Getting better and better, guys. Better and better.
Oh my god! Someone find some help! You wanna play with me? Get behind
Alright, they're shooting me, so I'm gonna have to back up a little bit until they come out again. Alright, that guy fell and I met him with a bullet.
You asshole!
Like, give me smoking aces and I raise you with another bullet. There we go. 2 shots are always good. Double tap. Remember, double tap. Alright, that guy doesn't like anything. He didn't get up. And we're going to talk about, son of a bitch. Didn't think they were going to rush through that, man. It's alright. It's alright. We're going to do this in one time. It's going to be good. I did it in one last time, so. And he doesn't even see me coming. Let's just. What, do you hear that? Hear that tick? Alright, let's go. Keep going. We are, oh, that's a guy on the other side. Alright. Yeah, I have to take his life down. Didn't really try to, I wish this thing was a little bit more sensitive, friendly. I'm gonna go to options and mess with the sensitivity so I can aim a little bit better because I'm over adjusting. Got him. Nicked him a little bit. Let's see if he gets up. And there he is. I got him. Alright, see if the guys run out. Probably not going to. But we're gonna see if this guy decides to try to. See money. Not coming out. I believe he's right behind there. So there he is. Don't know how to roll, so I'm gonna keep not doing that. There he goes. Gets behind some cover. And alright. There we go. Alright, camera comes back. You guys gotta come out. I'm not the cops. All your friends, they were terrible. They were terrible people. You guys are totally fine. You guys are gonna be fine. It's cool. No worries, guys. Nobody worries. It's cool, man. Come on. Just, alright, you'll get, $12. If you guys come out with your hands up. And you guys, I'll totally make you guys some pie. If you guys want some pie?
Come on!
Alright then. Got $12. $12 coming to you guys. And maybe $24 if you're good. So alright. They didn't go for the deal, so alright guys, we're good. Alright. We're gonna see if we can take this guy out with a different gun. Make it a little bit more challenging. Because there he is. Alright, he's down on the ground. Move a little bit closer, and he's dead. Yeah! Didn't happen because it was closer. Just got him in the it's right above the heart. I think they have like they run programs and stuff like that, so that have those certain things, those certain hit points, markers and stuff like that. And we're gonna use the shotgun to open these cases. Alright. Son of a bitch. No money. Alright, there's a thing there. Let's see if we can go around. Pick up all this money. And we're going to talk about positive reinforcement. A lot of negotiators and police work use positive reinforcement to be able to negotiate deals whenever there are terrorists, to be able to get hostages out. It's the reason why hostages are their main concern, completely and utterly. But every once in a while, they realize that if they don't understand that sometimes that hostages use tactics to be able to manipulate the criminal into believing that they have a way out. And a lot of times people don't understand this. A lot of people think that they can just manipulate the system in a way to where people will be like, oh my god, they totally had a way out the whole time. Just to confuse people and let people know that they have it under control. So alright. Let me steal this car. Because it's GTA. Alright. So we're going to realize that a lot of times people are a part of servers because they try to mess with stuff. And then when they try to mess with stuff, they have to realize that they're not friendly. So we're just gonna camp right now. We're gonna camp outside of this dude's apartment. We're just gonna camp right outside of it. He's inside trying to play video games on his other system.
Seriously, I could use a drink just...
Just gonna camp right outside of it. And here we go. First, you know what? I got an idea. Here we go. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go right here. We're gonna make him realize that I'm not a friendly. And this is where we're gonna leave by here. We're gonna take this. It's called stop sign. Call right there. And this is what happens when I'm able to see you. Don't care how much armor you have in your car. And there we go, it's on fire. So, alright. We're just gonna finish off with the handgun, guys. There we go. That is not what happens to an off car. They have to understand that if a gas tank or a fuel line is ever exposed in any way, it's probably the reasons why they discontinued a lot of different kinds of cars, guys. And positive reinforcement had a lot to do with all of it. See, this is what happens sometimes, is people who actually made a lot of money in the automotive industry. Who made a lot of money in the automotive industry sometimes would cut corners on trying to do different things. People would understand certain schematics and blueprints, and then those blueprints wouldn't reflect what actually happened. Or so, like Ford Motors said they were coming out with a completely and utterly safe car, and then they would understand that that car itself was through certain schematics wasn't safe at all. See, this is the reason why I think people didn't really do that. They didn't really exactly cut corners, but what would happen sometimes is people would think certain things about the car or certain things about anything, and then they'd start trying to modify it. That's the reason why their warranties got voided, and all they use their cars for now is to ride around and do different things. We're gonna go to a different server. And in the automotive industry, a lot of different people who worked for the companies would modify their own cars in certain ways, and that was completely unsafe because of the steel that they were using sometimes. All right, okay, let's go to this. You have to use a restroom. All right. A lot of times when people would go through certain changes in their lives, they would try to modify their cars in some way. And those modifications were put in places that were very unsafe for the cars. And that's usually what happened when certain cars wouldn't meet up to requirements, and they would still sell them. Um, Understandably so, there was a lot of times where people had to realize that that's all they had, all the schematics they had, and a lot of times people from other countries were trying to make those cars, not realizing that they didn't fit the schematics that were actually for the entire weight of the car, because it's the reason why a lot of times whenever a country in another car looks small and is built a certain way, a lot of car companies use schematics and blueprints from different countries. What they didn't realize is that a lot of different countries have different temperatures and stuff like that. So the things that they would use, like say a car in California isn't as or won't be, I guess, as efficient in California as it is in Florida. So realize that when you're buying a car, understandably so, you'll have to realize that the things that they make is over a highway that is in a certain area. Sometimes that they try to what's the word? They try to let's see, they try to mimic certain conditions sometimes. That's the reason why they'll blow cold air at it, they'll blow hot air at it. They don't realize that this right here, this video game, is based on, or at least their driving schematics, is based on a lot of different kinds of company cars that used to exist, and what they not used to exist, but still exist and changed their names because of the not the implication or anything like that, but because they got new blueprints and they didn't realize they were getting them. They didn't realize that the environment was changing around them. So that's the reason why sometimes people get new blueprints, because the people who are researching the cars, they do a lot of different stuff. So when they get, all right, cool, we got a $1,000 bounty, and it's been claimed. Dang it. All right, cool. I thought they were out in the country, so let's see if they're on the airport. So I'm talking about car companies because a lot of people don't realize that the motion sometimes when you it's like, it's not really the it's like if every car in here was a BMW or a different car that has a roll cage inside of it. This is kind of what would happen, kind of, because a lot of times they didn't like it when hey. All right. I'm gonna stop talking about that because I don't have any of those sponsors. But through a bunch of different people using and sending through different schematics and different things like that, a lot of different companies decided that they were going to create something completely by itself and use some schematics of different cars, but be able to use a kit that made it look like something else. Those were like Hyundai and in some cases Honda, and also Toyota, and sometimes so basically they would build an engine block that mimicked a certain or emulated, not really emulated, but the look emulated a different car engine, and sometimes the air intake sometimes would be different, but understandably so. That's the reason why usually it's not as fast. And a lot of cars, they go for what's the word? Let's see, I'm hiding. Trying to hide. Doing a really good job. Acting like a tree. That woman just really screamed because she didn't hear me. A lot of times when you talk in this game, there's a lot of people that talk back. The NPCs in here talk back and say everything that you're trying to think or something like that.
It's rude to run into people.
Because they think that somehow, if you talk through this thing, that's the reason why it enacts itself and tries to profile you as a player. It's the reason why I like to talk on here, because it's funny. Because people try to talk back as NPCs, and it's funny. It's me, because it's really great. I don't know exactly how to explain it correctly sometimes, but but it's really funny and it's really cool.
What?
Alright, see there's people on here. I'm gonna go through my map. Go through my map. And I'm gonna go and see if there's anybody. There we go. What we have to do is go near this guy. Let's see how he is, and there we go. I'm gonna try to kill him in a hybrid. Alright. There are a lot of times in my life where I believed people and what they told me sometimes, and a lot of times I watched the History Channel and saw stuff and thought and kept it as facts sometimes, but I didn't realize the whole situation or realize that they were talking about certain specific times and or certain specific situations basically, because that's the reason why it's so pertinent to be able to know all the facts sometimes in a situation. Because just because of a certain thing happening or someone making a mistake does not mean their intentions were bad and are intendedly cruel or something like that. There are a lot of times when people don't realize that what they do sometimes is or what people that try to reverse engineer things sometimes. What they do sometimes is they reverse engineer things and they make mistakes because of physics basically. And that's the reason why there is a research and development at every car company, because people research things and try to figure out what's the best way to be able to fit things all the time. That's the reason why they don't like to get things out during a certain time, because they like to get things out the time that they want to get them out, whenever they want to get them out. All right. I wish that dude had a bounty on his head. He's standing completely still. So, alright, we killed somebody, and I did a hybrid, but as we got it back into the hybrid, we realized we were in the hybrid. We'll begin shortly. Reverse the longest distance without crashing. Top 3 players will win cash RP. Okay, alright, event start in 2 minutes, so let's do this. I'm probably going to be the only one doing it, because that was the only other character. And, okay, and I'm not trying to make any assumptions about the automotive industry either. I'm not trying to get them on my tail, or not, I'm not trying to step on any toes either. But I have to understand that a lot of times when they come up with our research and development, there were a lot of companies that their potential was working out for something. But that's the reason why sometimes you need to realize that it takes a lot of time to be able to understand and recognize certain differentiations between the kinds of cars there are and the kinds of physics that affect the cars. Because of certain temperature differentiations, the wheels become a little bit more porous or drier. Like, so in California, this is kind of plausible. The tires always catching. But in places like Hawaii, where it's very humid or something like that, because it's an island, and this, I think, was meant to confuse kids or confuse people about certain things, because all the physics are what I think California is because of the material the road's made out of, and their particular weather conditions. So, all right, jumped it. Good job. A lot of times, what automotive companies would do is a lot of times what automotive companies would do I'm completely by myself. And a lot of times what automotive companies would do is they would try very, very intently to be able to confuse people sometimes, because they have research and development people coming out with different products, and they don't want anything to sully the name of something else, because that's what happens sometimes. There's a lot of people who think that they're helping a market by making things more competitive. They're actually considered kind of terrorists because or at least marketing terrorists, because what they do is they don't create any market. What they're doing is they're trying to all right, we're gonna get today's die. We're gonna realize that a lot of times when people used to there we go, he found me. A lot of times what people would do is in automotive car companies, they would try to stop people from knowing about their stuff. And when they tried to stop them, god damn it, when they tried to stop them, what they would do is, what they would realize is as they're trying to stop them, alright, 332 feet. See if anyone tries to I'm doing this with 2 wanted stars on me, so it's a little bit harder. Oh, somebody got 507. I'm getting another car. Ooh, 1,000 feet. Somebody's winning. Alright, here we go. Son of a bitch. Alright. 1,800. Hopefully he realizes I mean business. So, car companies will use a lot of different techniques to be able to confuse people. They aren't trying to be evil or anything like that. They're just stopping hackers from knowing all their stuff. A lot of different people would use different techniques to try to be able to hack companies. And those people would use security systems to try to be able to create measures, be able to make people weary of, or wary of, or whatever, how you pronounce that word. That's what they would do. And a stupid fucking cop needs to stop running into me so I don't keep resetting this. That is... Alright, we're going to keep running out around the cops. Hopefully they realize that I got to that number pretty much on purpose. Let's get rid of the stars. We've got one thing left. Alright. Go around this. And not crash. I'm gonna keep on going. 58 seconds. Let's do this. Don't crash into me, you bastards. Just keep falling behind. Son of a bitch. Alright, we're gonna have to outrun the cops again. Alright. 32 seconds left. Hopefully they realize I'm gonna get rid of the cops in 3, 2, 1. I didn't mean you needed to stop. I was just trying to intimidate you. It worked, but it's fine. All right. $8,000. Woo! I'm gonna go buy some more guns. All right. All right, so here we go. We're going to talk about the automotive industry again. A lot of times when they used to use research and development, sometimes they'd use different security systems and measures to be able to lie to people and tell them that something was wrong. A lot of people who tried to get into car places because they were thinking that something didn't work, but never actually did any research. They had to realize that every single one of those people did every single part of that research. They used every single part of that research, and then constantly, they say like PNAS, that the thing that I use sometimes to be able to get to certain research things, and like realize that there's such thing as tractor beams and stuff like that now. It's a really big, really cool thing, and it's actually a pushing and pulling vibrative sound. That's the reason why you have to realize that that's how gravity works. That's how I know that people think, I guess, that that the planet's gravitational pull is the same amount, or not the same amount, but the planet's what's the word? Today's died for the stupid bastard. We had one choice, man. VIP workover. Shit. All right. So, but yeah, the reasoning why a lot of different companies that are in the automotive industry would do this type of stuff is it's called the good business practices. Lying to different people and telling them that the wrong thing is the right thing to do sometimes, because not every company that gets in with other companies have the best intentions about something. Sometimes they want to control the market. Sometimes they want to do something else, and that's the reason why. Sometimes people would get certain information to be able to create an app, and all they had to do was be able to talk to the people who created the app. People who created the app usually are able to be the ones who do a lot of the research, and that's the reason why sometimes they create apps for certain cars or things like that. When apps first started coming out and phones were actually available, like cell phones, it's the reason why people would actually have OnStar and all those other different things built into their car and stuff like that. A lot of times they would run those things through phones or have an OnStar app. So that's the reason why a lot of times they need to make it completely and utterly secure, to make it completely go to someone who was 24/7 working. But understandably so, there was a lot of times where the OnStar app wouldn't immediately call the cops, or certain people would mess with the app in their car, or try to use their phone to be able to do something different, and it would enact something like their phone got hacked or some sort of thing. They have to understand that a lot of times what happens to phones sometimes is as soon as it's being hacked, it calls someone. Now that happens all the time. So you have to realize that that's the reason why sometimes your information gets taken down and there's a record of something. Because every single time that your phone tries to get hacked or someone's trying to completely FaceTime on your phone, they will basically out themselves to the police and literally the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That's the reason why a lot of people have to work with their satellites and get rid of different things that they used in another place or another time, like all those news stories and stuff like that that actually did like exist. Those are actual sometimes real news stories, but it's like they fabricated a thing from their thing because like a certain detail was missing, or a certain detail was actually. And I'm not saying there's not fake news, but I'm also saying that what people actually do sometimes is what they'll do to a news story that they've heard before, or they'll use the same stock image, and that's the part that's fabricated. So there's other news that is real that people have like kind of like brushed to the side sometimes. And also kicking a dude out of fire who's on fire, because a lot of dudes who drank a lot or something like that, when they get drunk, their blood is, that's the reason why sometimes people would get really dry sometimes, and the realization of the fact that what's the word, and also like they'd probably cover themselves in a certain flammable liquid, or constantly stay near a kerosene lamp or something like that. What would happen sometimes is there's a chemical that acts in our body that's able to mimic the structure of it's like, you remember when you take a shower, and if you've been exercising that day, or you did something strenuous, there's something that happens, and you start to steam basically because of the differentiation of temperature. It's kind of like that, basically. If people get too dry, or if a dead body or something like that has nothing but alcohol inside of it, like a person just basically drank themselves and got alcohol poisoning sometimes. If they had nothing else in their stomach, and they were like either not petrified or anything like that, but you have to understand that your body still moves because it still thinks your brain is working. Even though your brain isn't firing any synapses, you're still almost conscious sometimes during death. A lot of people, that's the reason why they need to understand that the timing of certain different deaths are just for paperwork sometimes in most cases. And they have to understand that a lot of times the reasons those reflexes keep on happening is because your brain stem has died, and those synapse firings are coming from your spinal column. It's the reason why you'll see someone like Blanca himself is his back or something was covered in soft tissue, and he had hair all the way down his back, basically. It's an actual condition that sometimes people don't understand, is people's heart stopping for more than a minute, or not more than a minute, but I'd say people who are resuscitated from being frozen for more than an hour sometimes will grow hair in certain places that other people won't, that other people have. Like, it's different sometimes, but it has to do with what you were doing while you were unconscious. It's the reason why it seems as though it thinks your brain travels, basically. Your body thinks your brain travels because people say that their body is separated from their mind. They think it's two different organs, and sometimes, in some cases, it's considered that way. But they have to understand that it's technically not. So they have to understand that it's an extension of yourself, and that's the reason why people would say that a weapon is an extension of your hand, because you'd manipulate it and move it, and have to let them know that your body is an extension of your mind. So your body is an extension of your mind. So they have to realize that positive reinforcement had everything to do with this stuff. So people who would try to take different plans, sometimes they would act like people that were different. They would lie and say, "Oh, dude, you made this? Oh my God, I can't believe you made this. Dude, you totally made this?" And they would just keep talking and trying to distract people for as long as possible to let them know that they were wiping their hard drives, and then turning it into the police. That's what would happen sometimes with different servers, because a lot of times if they use old servers or something like that, they're trying to entrap people that are trying to hack them, and they know it. That's what they do sometimes with certain car companies, and there are security systems, and there are security professionals who know a lot of different hackers, who have basically profiled a bunch of different hackers and a bunch of different thieves and a whole bunch of different people, and they're able to do a lot of different things because of certain chemicals in the air sometimes. They're able to what's the word? That's the reason why whenever somebody is doing something and they start to try to focus themselves, basically what you're doing when you try to focus yourself is you're making yourself sensitive to things around you. When people would positively reinforce someone, what they were doing is they were trying to get at the information that they knew to be able to understand that what that happens. Okay, they would try to get through certain avenues, basically, to manipulate and be able to make a person relax for them actually being around sometimes. Because whenever they would actually take those plans and then build cars with them, what they wouldn't understand is they didn't pay those people, they weren't on the payroll, so they would get no money and then they would get mad. That in itself, I think, is the reason why a lot of people became terrorists, and at first they were car makers, kind of. They weren't exactly car makers, but they were trying to be able to create or understand different cars. And they didn't understand that they didn't have any rights to that information because it was privately owned and privately patented in different countries. So what people would do is they would try to steal those plans to be able to make the car in a different place under a different name. And that's where you get all those different things. The reason why the people made fun of all those things, it's what happened in a lot of countries, in like Israel and a lot of different places. And the reasons why those things leak sometimes is because there were people working for them that had compassion for them after they realized that someone was being completely and utterly terrible. They would leak the plans to someone or something like that and say, you can have these, but you cannot call it the things that we call it. So they don't have any rights to the name, but technically it was like charity. So, and that's what positive reinforcement gets, because of certain privacy professionals. They would never get fired, they would never get let go of. They would actually work and be able to understand that there are a lot of people out there that still wanted people to have cars that looked like other cars, so that they would be able to make a market for themselves. And that's a lot of times where a lot of people would make certain cars and then say that they're a different car, but then they would change something completely and utterly different about it, and then it would mess up sometimes. And so that's the remnants of what people actually did, because a lot of times, because of those plans being made, sometimes there would be different mix-ups sometimes. Mix-ups between cars that looked different and sounded different and were considered, like say that guy on what's the word? Don't Mess with the Zohan. The guy, when he was walking in to the electronics store, he would try to say that it's all Sony guts. He would try to say that the VCR or the DVD player was all Sony guts. And it usually kind of is, but not really, because it's not made with the same grade material and it's not actually packaged the same way. So technically he's saying the truth, but in actuality he's not. Because people want to sell stuff, even though it's cheap and even though it's different. Like the reason why a lot of different companies like Roku, I'm gonna turn that. Sorry. A lot of times where like Roku and different places like Panasonic and LG, Virgin Mobile, all those other different companies, they would take old things and try to make them better, kind of, in a certain way, after they started realizing that they had something that actually worked. Because if they had something that actually worked, and they had like a product that actually worked, they try to come up with different variants of how that product worked. And that's the reason why you got different times where people had the schematics, had the rights to be able to do it, but didn't have the actual name and the rights to be able to say it's that. And the reason why is because that's the same thing that happens to cars happens to electronics. Because that's the reason why a certain PS4 in a certain area, it works with dust completely all over it sometimes. Because the reason why they make those PS4s in certain ways or in certain things is to work in any condition. So basically, I could completely and utterly throw dust and a whole bunch of different stuff at my PS4, and the way that it works, it would dry out the humidity inside of it, and then it would be able to push through air. And that's the way that every single piece of equipment that works in certain areas work. That works in certain areas, that's the way that they work, basically. So or function. Okay. Um, that's also the reasons why people decided that.
Fuck me!
Gosh, he injured me, guys. I gotta take his car.
Is this a flashback?
Or her car, sorry. Didn't mean to. It was an accident. I'll bring it back. It's in GTA, it's funny. Alright, a lot of times that's the reason why people would understand that. That's the reason why that a lot of times Silicon Valley and the people who made those things, they only had electronics or were able to have functioning electronics in certain areas because of the way that they were made. It's the reason why Bill Gates owes a lot of money to certain companies in certain countries for being able to use some certain schematics sometimes and being able to make his own systems. Because they did mimic a certain type of other system, and that's the reason why I think sometimes he loses money and he gives to charities in certain areas sometimes too, is because a lot of companies use their certain schematics that they found from like IBM or different other companies. They just realized that IBM couldn't control all of it, and so they started making deals and different things, and that's the reason why they would go to college for certain things and realize other things out of college. So that's the reason why he didn't finish college technically. He was a college dropout. But I studied things a lot when I was a little kid, and I probably was very lucky to be able to not have computers around, because if I was, then I probably would be what's the word? Considered a threat, I guess, against people. If I was born in, like, say, 1998 or 1999, I farted. So, a lot of times that if I was born in 1998 or 1999, then I would probably be a hacker at some point. But understandably so, I was born in the 80s, so I kind of stave off from that stuff because it's not really a big thing for me. I just don't really do it because it's stupid. This is all information that I've seen over the course of I'd say my entire life, but maybe it's probably since I was like 17 or 18, I started getting heavy into cars a little bit. 18 was when I got my license, so that was when I started associating different things with other stuff. And a lot of times that's the reason why people don't understand that there are a lot of things that have car manufacturers. Wait, I'm gonna sit up. All right. Certain car manufacturers will make certain engines to be able to go with certain places, and and a lot of times what they wouldn't realize is it made their entire company sectionalized into like northern states and a bunch of different things like that. So technically it was like the North had like to come up with industrialism, but technically they were all using southern workers. So it's like all they had to do was figure out what they were doing and then come up with their own variation of it, because there are a lot of different engineers that work in the South that do a lot of different amazing things. And that's the reason why sometimes they act so entitled sometimes, is because they know their shit, and they're really boisterous about it sometimes. So this is why you would see a guy, let's say like messing with his friend or something like that, and his friend doesn't understand it, or his friend does not understand it, but his friend understands that that guy came up with an invention, and then he patented it before that other dude came up with that patent. So basically it's a competition, at least, and between companies and stuff like that. And I'm trying to omit as much as possible of people who just hang out in the French Quarter for no reason. But a lot of times where people get their certain what's the word, people get their certain lingos from is the fact that a lot of different people like to play pranks on each other. So what they would do sometimes with fraternities in the Old South sometimes is shit was crazy and fucked up sometimes, and they wanted to be able to laugh about it sometimes. And what they would do is they'd hire certain people who were like either working at the bar somewhere or doing something different. What they would do is they would hire them to be vagabonds to try to not catcall or anything like that, but to be able to astound them. They tell them a certain fact, and then that person would go up to them and say, hey, did you know this? There's something blah, 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 blah. And they would ramble off about a certain fact sometimes. And that certain fact was, they would give them at least 3 to 4 to maybe 5 different talking points. That's what fraternities used to do to each other. They would literally say, that because they were trying to say that it was a prank for knowledge, because there are people out there that are very smart in certain provinces and countries and different places, and even in the U.S. There are very, very many smart people that live in the southern states, and they have to understand that if there was incest anywhere, it happened a lot of places. Didn't just happen in the South, guys. Understandably so. I am not a product of that.
This is Pegasus Lifestyle Management to remind you that we have a wide range of luxury and specialty vehicles.
All right, you're welcome. So there's a lot of times where all right, let me go to this gang thing. See if I can get through this. But yeah, there was a lot of times where people decided that there were a whole bunch of different situations where positive reinforcement actually did some good, or made somebody laugh, or made somebody realize that there are a lot of good people somewhere. So and you have to understand that though a lot of different stuff was messed up. Oh, you son of a bitch! Somebody's hacking my server again. I'm gonna walk this way and walk back. Or not server, my PS4, you know, that thing. And then a lot of times people don't understand that certain things happen for a certain reason. So a lot of people get jobs because they've worked really hard throughout their entire life and done either volunteer work through their own thing, someone's heard about it through some sort of reference, and that person got a job. And my dad was a part of that a lot. Because of the ways that he used to travel around a lot, he would spread the word about certain things. And a lot of times what would happen within a certain company, because my dad's retired now, and what he would do is he would recommend certain people for certain jobs, and sometimes those people would work out, sometimes they wouldn't. But understandably so, there are a lot of times where they did work out, and there were a lot of different connections that my dad was able to make for different people, and positive reinforcement is able to make a difference in a lot of different people's lives. Just smiling at them and waving hi for stopping, and then realizing that pedestrians have the right of way, or letting them know that just because pedestrians have the right of way doesn't mean they can be dicks about it. All right. There are a lot of times where people decide to be able to make something for themselves, and when they decide to make something for themselves, they don't realize that sometimes their minds are on the right path, but the idea that they have has been completely and utterly refabricated by someone else. Like, say my mom really likes art. She likes appreciating art. She likes being able to talk about art. She really likes being able to do a lot of stuff with art. And that's the reason why I'm going to sell my company to her for $1, because I don't know anything about art. I know stuff about art supplies, but I never actually messed with the stuff, and I didn't really look at it a lot. I know that that's what it's made out of because of certain things that I've learned over the time and the things that I'm able to study. But it's like the words aren't getting there, and I wouldn't be able to describe it as much as she would be able to describe it. And I think my mom is getting ready to start. I guess, what is it? She's gonna. I don't know if she might retire soon, within the next 10, maybe 20 years. And I think that if she realizes that that she could do this in her spare time, and she really could make a difference in some people's lives, that then she'd understand that this is really cool, and Um, that's the reason why I changed my name from, kind of didn't want people to unassociate themselves with just me, and I kind of wanted to be able to get myself into a situation because I wanted to reflect my personality. I wanted my stuff to be able to reflect my personality. I'm kind of a robot on anything that doesn't give me allowable video for more than a minute. That's the reason why I'm not on Instagram, and then that's the reason why I'm on Facebook. I just usually talk to my family sometimes, and I usually don't even talk to my friends sometimes. They're just a different breed of people, and I don't usually use the Facebook to talk to them or communicate with them. A lot of times they didn't understand that they didn't really understand that there were a lot of times where I realized that that a lot of people were trying to be morbidly morbidly positive. They're trying to be positive about a fucked up situation. They're trying to find something about the fucked up situation that would make them laugh. Understandably so. That's the reason why I like to distance myself from those things. Not the emotion, but the thing itself, to be able to laugh about something that didn't happen that made me laugh, and something that happened that didn't make me laugh. To be able to not confuse those two emotions. Because a lot of times what people don't get is there are a lot of times when I didn't believe in a lot of stuff. I didn't believe in a lot of people, didn't believe in a lot of things, and that's the reason why I studied everything. I studied a lot, and I studied often. And when I studied, a lot of times people really didn't understand what I was studying. I was going through a lot of different stuff in my head. It's the reason why I was able to do different things, and that's the reason why I talk kind of fast. But there are a lot of times where I realized that I'm gonna get some C4. Let's get 3 of those, and then we'll get some more bullets for our Tommy gun. And then some more bullets for my sniper rifle. Oh, there it is. It's full, and some
all
rockets.
your post-apocalyptic needs under one roof.
There we go. Alright. Should be able to go to another server now and see if we can hunt people. Because it's my fun thing that I like to do. A lot of times what I realize sometimes is people were I'd say trying to divide themselves into groups sometimes, and yes, I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna go in here. There we go. Just park the car right there. Leave the gate open. And then here we go.
Go back! We got Amanda! Go to hell! Find cover! Say something! He got Menendez!
Got Hernandez. Yeah. Son of a bitch, I didn't even see him. He blended in with the gray. God damn it. Alright. A lot of times when I realized that that people were doing stuff, what I would do is I would try to make my own things that that reflected something about them. And I realized that I was never going to get paid by them. I really don't really need to get paid by them either, but understandably so. I do really realize a lot of different things that that people understand as I do need to really realize that people understand me in different ways, I guess. They don't really understand me in certain, I guess, avenues, so kind of have to not really do it myself, but maybe hire someone, I guess. That's the reason why a lot of times I think that my mom is a really good person. So she's a very wonderful lady, and she takes care of me sometimes. She not really takes care of me, but she makes sure that I have everything that I need sometimes. And if I didn't have her, I guess, during this whole process of me getting through something, I would never be able to function on my own. And because I'm going through this certain situation, and this is the boss. I don't want to milk it. He's getting down. All right, hey you. What are you doing? Oh, is your leg hurt? Oh, what's going on? You hurting? What's going on? All right, stop it. Don't do that again. Jeez, guys. All right. A lot of times where I go through this process of me trying to get my stuff back, my sanity somewhat. Not exactly my sanity, but a little bit of clarity that all right, it's a really cool jump. I don't think I'm ever gonna work at this place anyway, so, or any other place that looks like it. I don't know. I know this for a fact. All right, we're gonna take our Hummer. Or what is it called? I don't know what it's called. It's called a mammoth. A mammoth. All right, cool. Hummer guts. All right. There's a lot of times where there are a lot of times where I believe that what people don't understand about stuff is a lot of times people don't really understand about things is whenever car companies used to do certain things, what they didn't really realize is, yes, I'm going to do this one too. It's going to be great. There we go. All right, here we go. Let's do this.
Oh my god.
All right. A lot of times I realized certain pertinent information that was something I didn't realize who to say it to sometimes, and it wasn't exactly an emergency. So I just kind of kept quiet about it, and a lot of people were like, all right, we're gonna see if we can walk up this thing and then walk back and see if it actually shows up again. A lot of times there were different people out there that that certainly learned different things, and certainly realized that there are different people out there for anything. So a lot of times what I realized and what I knew were people who didn't realize that they had it all, I guess, and that that other people really liked them and really thought they were cool. They really thought they were fun to be around. But through positive reinforcement, people can manipulate you. And this is the part that gets kind of sucky, I guess. And people start to realize that through certain people's relationships, they have to realize that some characters were used and made to make it look like people who have likenesses that were different. And sometimes to be able to protect the people who were actually doing stuff, but most of the time to protect themselves. And that's the reason why businesses do that sometimes. They use a certain person and they don't want to say that they used that person. But that's the reason why sometimes a lot of things get discontinued, like certain cereals and certain stuff, is they used a certain person's stuff and they thought that they'd be honorable for a very long time, and then they do something completely outright, completely stupid, and they say something dumb about it and think that there is some way that they can get out of it. But realize this for a certain fact, for a very certain fact, that I want to say something that's stupid, but I know that for a fact is it's very, very depressing to know that people aren't going to be doing something anymore, or aren't going to be going anywhere anymore, going somewhere anymore. And it really sucks, man. It really does suck. There are a lot of people out there that really, really deserve something, and a lot of times there are people out there that know about something or say something, and war is terrible, dude. War is very terrible. And a lot of people think that there is some sort of thing happening, at all, but they have to understand that throughout an entire area of places, like literally 12 different continents sometimes, that's where a lot of different precious metals are, because there are, let's see, how many, seven continents? People don't understand that certain small islands consider themselves a continent. And eventually they're going to be, because there are small underground volcanoes that are going to turn into big underground volcanoes because of the polarity of our thing, and the reasons why there won't be a mountain in freaking Yosemite National Park. Because a lot of times when people take measurements, they assume things. They make a hypothesis and they don't take in the variables. And that's the reason why sometimes people can tell someone that something's going to happen, and they just took a measurement of a certain area, thinking that something was going to happen because they only took a measurement of that certain area, thinking that that thing would enact itself, like a plant would grow faster than it normally does. Obviously, so if the plant grows faster than it normally does, it usually dies faster than it normally does as well. And that's the reason why I think what they were trying to do on Princess Mononoke is show people that that things that come fast usually leave fast. And that's why I think that a lot of times people don't understand that that this is where I got most of my knowledge from. This is where I got most of my morals from sometimes. And understandably so, there are things that people used that were completely and utterly terrible, like a car that literally looks like it was built in a supermarket. It literally is like a shopping cart sometimes, and you have to understand that there has to be specific lanes for them. So they either always have to stay on the right or something like that, or they always have to do a certain thing, because there are people out there that get very, very stupid drunk sometimes, and there are also people out there that try to keep out certain businesses, but they understand is that that's terrorism. To keep out a business from in your state or in your city, to try to kick them out just because you think that people like you. To be able to do things like call your friends and tell your friends to come hang out with you sometimes in certain areas or in certain ways, to be able to make it seem like you have more friends than you actually do, or people hang out with you on the regular and that's the normal thing that y'all do all the time. no matter if that's true or not, no matter if that actually happens at all, the realization of fact is that sometimes people don't like each other. And that's true. And if they realize that they don't like each other sometimes, then they can go in different areas or go to different rooms or realize that there are different things that people like. And I just exploded my... Jeez, guys. Just exploded my mammoth. Done. Guys. Alright, there are a lot of times where people... Like, this is the reason why I still don't trust Russia. Because... There's a reason why I still don't trust a lot of different countries. Because they've had schematics of other different cars for a very long time. They've hacked into a bunch of different servers before. They've gotten certain information before. I've basically not witnessed it, but I've understood that it's a fact. And this is the reason why in the 70s they told them to go fuck off. And then Russia got mad and decided that they were going to put bombs in different places because they thought they were going to fight. Understandably so. It's stupid. They told them to go fuck off because they had people that were making patents, and they had at that same time that were making certain businesses in Russia.
Well, you know the freeway's fucked at this hour. What
To
is
be able
wrong
to
with
help
you?
a lot of different people that weren't being able to get seen. And they had to understand that because of them dying, basically, there's an entire generation of people who hate Russia for a serious fact because they just let people die for no reason. And it doesn't have anything to do with it, but they have to understand this doesn't have anything to do with it. They have to understand that preservation of life is very, very serious sometimes. Because if people don't get to those moments sometimes, what they don't realize is, I know for a fact that life goes on. Always. And even the person who's completely dying, or they're completely dead, or completely looks like they've just they're in petrification spell, or something like that. And they have to realize that in order for people to be able to see their families sometimes, they had to put themselves in harmful situations. And they got to see their families, but then they got addicted to like heroin and terrible things, and then they had to be rushed to a hospital because they were overdosing. There were a lot of times when that happened to certain people, and they didn't understand that there was a big situation happening, that people would just try to act like nothing was happening at all because they didn't want their friends to go to jail, or themselves to go to jail, or whatever, for whatever reason they felt that their friends had some sort of dirt on them because of something, and they went to jail for a very long time. Taken is a very serious story. The movie Taken, it's of a person who did that. Because of literally what a lot of countries have done sometimes, is they have literally legalized human trafficking in certain areas sometimes. And that's the reason why it sucks. And the reason why people just want to stay the fuck out of it. The reason why literally we left the UN. Because it had to be the last straw that somebody tried to do a stupid missile that literally looks like it's North Korean made. It's just some stupid thing to get people off, to say that they're, if it isn't anything, even if it isn't anything, it's just some sort of stupid distraction that people put there that just pisses Americans off all the time. Especially Trump supporters, because they've seen all the shit before, they've understood all the stuff before, and they know stuff that people aren't supposed to know sometimes. But understandably so, they know it, and that's the reason why they're a part of this country, because if people want to be informed and realize that it's just... I'm saying Trump supporter because I don't really support him. I wanted Jill Stein to be it. Understandably so, she didn't get enough publicity, so, or at least not in the South. And you have to realize that there are a lot of different parties out there that are really good and not communist, because they wouldn't allow that shit, or socialist. That's the reason why Bernie Sanders didn't make it, because it's stupid. It's really stupid to do that, to give everybody equal amounts knowing that they're different. No Child Left Behind does not mean every child eats the same amount of food the same way. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. There are different situations that happen people are born on different days in different weather conditions, and different things make them comfortable because of the things they experienced when they first emerged from the womb, or when the doctor spanked their ass and they started crying. They realized that, oh my God, this dude's might be holding a scalpel, because they were just completely sometimes outside their own head. So realization of fact is that positive reinforcement is what makes it happen, is what makes world peace happen, and people to realize that we have to completely and utterly reform ourselves, and realize that all this shit with all this like controlling certain markets and bullshit like that, they have to understand that people want certain things. People really do want certain things, and there are a few different companies, and basically a handful of certain different companies, even today, that literally do the perfect sort of situation thing. And I'm not talking about any cars that are like Ferrari or anything like that, because they make their cars kind of weird sometimes, because they think that in a certain area you're being pushed down by the wind resistance. But also too, you have to understand is that if they make their entire car, part of their car, flat, what can happen is the top part of the car can jerk and can throw you off the road immediately. That's what happens with those huge things, those different things like that. Like, but also you're not going like 350 miles an hour down a road most of the time, when you realize that if you're just running from zombies or anything like that, you can just drive about 40. Alright, so realize that, because they don't really run that fast. World War Z is a lie. Okay. Those were vampires. Alright, be yourself and understand that there are a lot of different things out there. There are a lot of different people. Actually, it would seem that that was all CGI robots, basically. That's the reason why they would always keep going underneath each other instead of falling over and shit, because that's what would actually happen. Because, yeah. So that's what happens, or it's like a wave of something, I guess. People don't understand it, I guess, but it's okay. Realizing that there are a lot of times what people collect as rainwater sometimes is very volatile and has a lot of acid in it. It's high in pH levels. And that's the reason why sometimes they have to realize is that that's the reason why those cloud systems are only there for a certain time. And that's also the reasons why they have to realize that the Earth is alive, because it literally does that stuff on its own. It moves around stuff and makes sure that not every area is covered in water. And that's also to realize that New Orleans is about 15 feet above sea level. So it may seem like it because the people in the north are taking their measurements through like pi or something.
Hey, Jackie.
Because 3.14 is a constant, all right?
She is the worst casting
Above a certain part of the hemisphere, it's the reason why we're still 15 feet above it. Because they can say we're below it all they want to, but they're not taking into account the curvature of the Earth, and that's the reason why. So bam, whammy, brought it. And I like Funhouse, so that's the reason why I said that. And also, not Family Guy, Anchorman, Will Ferrell, he's a good guy, and also a really good comedian. Positive reinforcement is basically the thing that I realize, and through positive reinforcement, I'm able to understand certain things. And oh, here we go. Yeah. Doop 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 doo. Doop 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 doo. Doop 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 doo. Let's see if we can use another gun, because I'm gonna use a freaking Uzi for this thing. All right. Alright, we're going to take out the security guard right now, so he doesn't try to kill me later. Alright. Alright. Son of a bitch. It went away. Alright, I'll have to wait, because... Alright. See if it comes back. Dude, seriously? If they freaking see me from there, they need to run into the freaking water. are over here. To stay out of their radar. Oi, oi, oi! Alright. So yeah, basically that's the reason why I certainly am basically what's the word? Proven to be right on certain occasions sometimes, and realize certain things without actually having to look in a book sometimes. Because I studied when I was younger, and I realized certain facts, and I held on to those facts. And also, too, I realized that if something is a certain way, then usually a lot of things are a different way. So, alright, here we go. Doop, doop, doo, 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 doo. Alright, a lot of times, positive reinforcement is what people need in order to be able to make themselves better, and realize that there are a lot of times where people a lot of people try to realize certain things and try to make themselves better every single day, and there are a lot of times where positive reinforcement can really, really change someone's life. No matter if you're trying to take something that they stole, or take something that they accidentally got, or realize that, understandably so, you're not going to take it, but people are going to be able to change it. So just be there for yourself, and realize that there are a lot of different things that people go through every single day, and the reason why they will be wanting to do some sort of certain thing is because they want to be there for someone, and just be there for yourself, and realize that people really want to care, but sometimes things get in the way and they act like idiots, and no matter what, you have to realize that you're strong enough to be able, mentally, you're strong enough to be able to understand a certain person's situation in life, and that situation can be brought back by or reversed in any way, and whatever situation you're actually going through, realize that there are people out there that can actually help, but also understand that sometimes you need to be by yourself and realize that there are people out there that can help, but they can't help you with certain things, like being able to understand certain things about the world, and because it's usually not written down in a book, and sell that dirt, you know. Realize that sometimes people really need the paperwork sometimes, and there are a lot of times where people really don't understand what they're actually doing, but they have to understand a lot of times that there are people out there that really want to help through different businesses or through different places, or even being helped by, I mean, any government. A lot of times there are things that people go through every day, and what they go through is just a process of elimination of certain things in their life that they thought they needed, but they don't anymore, and because of certain things in their life that change, and certain people in their life that extremely change, and sometimes should have never even been dealt with, or should have never even, because of a lot of times people really don't realize that that they're saying something insensitive, or that they're trying to realize some sort of different fate, I guess, or a different future, I guess, for themselves. But they have to understand that the more that they see sometimes, the more that they won't be able to experience. And that's the reason why sometimes people themselves try to, I'm walking around this area thinking that it will come back, but it probably won't. But, let's see, so through certain techniques, I guess, people of positive reinforcement, and a bunch of different people trying to say that it's positive positively gainful to be able to be around someone and make sure that you don't try to force yourself or your will or any sort of kind of different things on that person, I guess. Just realize that there are people out there that really deserve a better part of your life. And there are people out there that aren't insensitive, that don't act like a certain way, they don't act stupid or anything. You have to understand that through those certain situations that they didn't realize, they had to understand that the reality of the fact was is they were doing something illegal and stupid. And when people do that and expect to get completely just written off scot-free about something, that's the more they expect about something, the easier it is to take them to jail. Just realize that before you ever do anything stupid ever again. Just realize that as a fact. The more that people don't understand things, the more that people realize that they're trying to be stupid, the more they really don't realize about themselves, the more they'll realize that the amount of something that happens in someone's life can be really, really exponentially taken out of proportion by people who don't know the situation. And when they don't know the situation, they say things and they make insensitive remarks. But that's the reason why they say those insensitive things, as because they're trying to test you. They're trying to act like you don't matter or you don't care, or any sort of things that make you angry isn't you, or it's not really what you're supposed to be doing. Understandably so. If you're mad about it, then it probably means you care about the situation and you want to do something. That doesn't mean you should run into anything or do something that involves anything, because this is a video game. This is a complete and utter programmable different thing that people hack into all the time and act like it's real because they're stupid. Alright, we turn that off. And then, realize this though. The reason why this actually calms me down is because I think I'm calmed down by moving but not actually moving, I guess. By realizing some sort of different change, I'm able to focus my mind. A change in light, or a change in air pressure, a change in differentiation of environments. I am sensitive to those things sometimes, and that's what people have to understand about me. That's the reason why, because I do have Native American blood from a lot of different lineages, and lineages, not tribes, because I only have Native American blood from 2 tribes, but those people are connected in different places, and they're very mostly good at what they do, you know. But a lot of times there are people out there that don't get it, and they'll never get it because what they don't realize is their lives as they know it, or their lives as they see it, have changed, and their future has changed, and the situations that they went through have changed them as a person, because that's what happens when you take drugs or do anything that involves sort of things like that. So realize the risk involved of doing something completely and utterly stupid. People don't realize that those things are for not someone else, they're for no one else, and shouldn't be used. The path that I went down, I don't wish on anyone. Because I don't have any worst enemies, and I don't want to insinuate that I do. Or any enemies at all, because that just makes patches of wall where somebody could have had a friendship. And also realize that there are a lot of people out there that care, but if they really cared sometimes, they'd usually show their faces, you know? But also too, I really don't blame them, because they don't know what's going on. So and anyone that tries to realize a certain truth or a certain fact, to realize that someone's insensitive, it's very true and it's very helpful to be able to realize that fact, and to realize that even though they're laughing at you or telling you that you don't matter, it doesn't matter, okay? They're just trying to get in your head. They're trying to figure you out. It's the way that they were taught when they were younger. And if you're not comfortable with that, then you should walk out the door immediately. Realize that and have confidence. And realize that you shouldn't shut the door, slam it at all, or do anything that involves anything. Just shut the door calmly, or just leave it open. Don't insinuate anything, don't say anything, don't try to say anything, because the more you try to insinuate something, the more you'll realize that you were wrong. But understandably so, you should also realize that it doesn't matter if you're wrong, because you're right even if you are when it comes to a certain relationship, and the fact that people don't understand what they have until it's gone. People don't understand what they have or how they have something, even if a certain situation happens. The reason why a certain person acts insensitive or says something a certain way is because they're ready to break up. So the certain situation that needs to happen, they're ready to understand that sometimes people just let go, no matter what. It's easier to see in the darkness by yourself than it is with someone on your toes. It's easier to understand a problem when you're able to focus yourself rather than seeing 20 different people who are all saying the exact same thing but in different ways. It's easier to understand a problem when you're the one doing the work and able to understand the problem itself, when you're able to have the right equipment and the right tools for the job. And you're able to understand that there are people out there that really, really want to help, but sometimes they really aren't qualified. And they don't know they're not qualified. But understandably so, they have to realize that certain things happen because of stupidity. And stupid people don't realize that they weren't qualified to do something. And then they have to understand that people have to have licenses to cut lawns now. People have to have licenses because people will just start cutting each other's lawns and just be like, "Hey, I'll give you $20." That's tax evasion, bro. If you make over $1,000 doing that a year, then that's fucking tax evasion. If you walk around with a lawnmower trying to go to 20 different houses and constantly restocking with gas, you have to be able to write that stuff down and use paperwork. So realize that and understand that it's the reason why everybody cuts their own lawn now, because nobody wants to incorporate themselves or call themselves a business. At least not a lot of people. So, and other people can either cut lawns cut. There are retirees everywhere that literally just don't feel like cutting their lawns anymore. But you have to understand that if you don't get a license to be able to build yourself a business or make something happen, if you just have some sort of magnet that somebody made for you at a sign shop, then it's still not legal. So, you know that, and understand that that's how it works in America. If you want to do something, you need a license, because if you do something wrong, or if something happens to you, or if something happens to anyone, you need to be realize that you're held responsible no matter what. So realize and understand it. I'm ready to take that risk. I don't know if anybody else is. Everyone hides from it all the time. It's usually the reason why when I talk to people, they just calmly walk away and act like I didn't say anything. But I have to realize that people have to realize that sometimes things are over in their lives, and they have to accept it and stop acting like they're doing something that they're not. Don't lie to yourself, because it just makes more walls where people could have called you and told you how much of a good job you were doing, making sure that you were being positive. Because people really do want to reinforce what you actually know, and people really want to reinforce what you actually say. But you have to understand that there are people out there that really, really need your help. You know? Whoever you are out there, realize that if you're just positive every day, if you're just positive, completely positive about a situation and the reasons why something happens, and you're able to joke about stuff, and you're able to make people's day better or something, or you're able to say something about someone, how pretty they look, or how cool they look that day, or how awesome they are, they'll realize that you're a true friend, no matter what the circumstance. No matter if you're saying things that you don't like about their relationship, or saying things that you don't like about them sometimes. They just know that for a fact. They're not your family. They weren't born near you or anything like that. Just be yourself, and realize that if you're hacking, then you'll be caught eventually. Have a good day, and realize that people are sometimes their own one man or woman metaphorical bomb squad. Realize that there are people out there that care. Realize that there are people out there that don't care. Realize there are people out there that don't understand certain situations because they're different. And if they're different, then that's the way they are. If they wanted to change themselves for a certain reason, or if they changed because they couldn't control it, then that's what happens. They change. And that's who they are. And if they don't want to be considered male or female or anything like that, it's just a word. That's all it is. It's not a situation. Ma'am and sir is just because of whether or not you put makeup on or just leave makeup off. They're just words. That's all they are. And words can't hurt you just as much as a person can't hurt you if they're 1,000 miles away and in a jail cell somewhere. The realization of fact is that sometimes the reflexes of what you learned were the situations that you thought were happening to you no matter what. And literally that thought in itself can sometimes make a reflex. And that's the reason why I have to get up, because my butt's going numb. So have a good day, and enjoy yourselves. And hopefully I wanted to make an explosion, but it's cool. Let's see, wait. Celebration. Anyways, let's see here. Alright, let's see if we can put one down here and have a car go near it. Alright. And now we're just going to stand here, pay attention to that C4 on the ground. It's right near the P. Let's do this. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That was fun. Alright, cool. Made me feel better. It was really great. Because it's a fake explosion. It's on a video game. That's the reason why I like it. And also I like fireworks. So that's the reason Awesome is too. I love it. It's awesome. Great. Have a good day. And enjoy your time here. Because you never know when it stops. But understandably so, it never has to.